So good morning, everyone. It is lovely to see some familiar faces, and it's lovely to see some unfamiliar faces. And I know we're going to have some people jumping into the recording, so just welcome if you're listening to the recording. I'm really excited to run this webinar. This is the first time we've ever run a CLM information session as a public event, and I think that really just demonstrates how much probably I'm growing and shifting and changing in my business, and how much more organized I'm becoming and better at marketing what I'm doing. But it's also partly being fueled by my enormous feeling that the world is moving faster and faster, and that the work that we've been doing in the CLM is becoming, it's like we've been doing this work for the last 7+ years. And it's like the world's now catching up with us, which feels pretty cool. But also from a real sort of compassionate, self-compassionate perspective, I really feel that the things that we've been working on are what more and more leaders are needing, and particularly around regulation. And you're going to hear more about that and the focus that we've got moving forward for 2026. So before I move into the content, I want to do an honouring of the land and custodians and connections. And I just really invite you to put your feet firmly on the ground, take a few deep breaths. Just let these words move through you as I read them out to you, and let us really just come into the present moment and become grounded. So I want to begin our session this morning by inviting us to take a moment to land into our own breath, into our bodies, and into the shared space we have together this morning. I'm joining you from the Sutherland Shire this morning, which is on Darawal country, and I want to honour the Darawal people as the traditional custodians of the land. I pay my deep respects to the elders, past and present, and to the stories, wisdom, and connections that continue to live through this country. We're gathering online today from many places across Australia, different countries, different skies, each of us carrying the threads of where we come from. And as we meet, may we listen with our whole being. May we hold space for more than one way of knowing, and may we remember that learning is not just about content, it's about connection. Can we travel through the time and space we have together today with respect, curiosity, and a willingness to grow, knowing that in every conversation a story unfolds, and that within this shared space, our thoughts, our experiences, and our ideas have the potential to weave together, forming something new and something none of us could shape alone. So it would be really lovely if I could get you to share in the chat box just how you're feeling this morning on a scale of 1 to 10 before I take you through a little mini breathwork meditation. No judgment, there's no issue or which number it is, it's just putting yourself down as a number for the minute, and then you've got some reference point of how you feel now and then how you feel after our little new meditation that I'm going to share with you. So thanks for sharing, everyone. So we've got a whole mixture. Okay. Is that better, Rosie? Is that much better? Great. Thank you for letting me know. So we've got a whole array. A few people haven't been able to jump on this morning, Belinda, because of family visits and doing tours around the service. So we'll keep moving, but I feel for you there's a lot happening. Okay, so some of you may have seen this morning I've launched a breathing space meditation series that I've put out into the world. If you haven't checked your emails, though, it will hopefully be in your email box now, and if it hasn't, please reach out to me. And I've wanted to do this for a long time, but I've wanted to do it even more because of this time of year. Everyone's so busy. I wanted to drop a little bit of space and peace into your email box. and you're one of the few groups that I'm just sharing one of the new meditations with you. So as always, I invite you to just kick off your shoes if it feels comfortable. Let's use this time. It's only like 2-3 minutes of your time just to move with me as I read through this meditation. To move away from your desk. So take your hands off your desk and put them in your laps. Get yourself nice and grounded. If you feel comfortable closing your eyes, I invite you to close your eyes. And take some beautiful deep breaths. And this meditation, this breathwork meditation, is called Returning to Calm. And the 3 meditations that I'm sharing have all been created specifically for early childhood leaders like yourself. So let's take a deep breath. And I welcome you into this space. Take a slow breath in and take a slow exhale out. Let your shoulders drop and let your breath lengthen. Notice the surface supporting you. Each breath invites your body to match the earth's slower rhythm. You don't need to create calm, you only need to remember it. And if remembering feels hard, you can borrow mine until yours returns. Gently scan your body and notice where it feels open and where it's holding effort. There's nothing you need to do or change right now. Awareness is already an act of care. Your breath reconnects mind, body, and presence. Let your breath find its natural pace. Notice the quiet pause between inhale and exhale. That small, still point where wisdom lives. In that space, your system finds coherence. I allow my pace to match my purpose. I don't need to rush my presence. If it feels difficult to slow down, imagine being held in another steady rhythm, borrowing calm until your own steadiness returns. Breathe in awareness, breathe out ease. Carry this slower calm with you, a rhythm that nourishes clarity, compassion, and care. And when you're ready, take one final deep breath in and one final long deep breath out. And when you're ready, come back into the space. You didn't want to come back, Julia? Come off mute.
No, I didn't. It's been rather a hectic morning this morning, an unexpected hectic morning. I was quite happy just right where I was.
That's beautiful. Are you all good?
Yeah.
What number would you like to say? What number would you feel now after doing that?
So are we going higher, lower? What's the variant here?
The variant is 1 is overwhelm and 10 is at the top of the world.
I reckon I'm probably a 9 at the moment.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Anyone else want to share? How did that feel? I'm just curious. That's a new process I haven't taken you through before. Did you like that?
Really liked it. Thanks, Sarah. And I really like the concept of borrowing calm. I think that's really a great reminder. Thank you.
I popped that in because we know some people just can't get there. There's too much going on. And yeah, it's a slightly different concept than thinking we have to do it all on our own. Sometimes we need a bit of help, don't we?
I love that as well, the sharing the calm. And I think it's also reflective of um, so much of what we learn through the program, is how one's presence impacts other people around us.
Great share. Thanks, Rosie.
And I feel like I put in an 8 before, which I felt I feel really great, but I wouldn't say I felt calm.
Okay.
It's interesting to just take that moment and actually calm myself down. It's not like I wasn't feeling stressed or, it's just the way that we get used to functioning, right? So you don't even know that you might be operating in, just an on the go kind of pace. So I found that really interesting because I didn't feel stressed or anything, but now I can tell I just feel so much calmer.
Beautiful. And that may also highlight for me sort of the question I ask with what you're saying. If it's led with if I'm focusing on calm, that's what we're focusing on measuring. I think that's a good pickup I'm taking from what you're sharing there, Fiona. I think it's really helpful. I don't know, Belinda, whether you were able to do that.
Yeah. So yeah, we just literally moments before I jumped into the Zoom, we just finished up with our last family, brand new families. We had 5 visiting, some with mum and dad. So, trying to keep all of them happy, making sure they've got all of the information. I was way up here. Whoa. And that's just really, it took me a little minute to get into it, to sink into it with you, Sarah, because I was so buzzing after that busy morning. But yeah, definitely, you could definitely feel the calm re-enter me, I suppose.
Well
So
done,
thank
you.
you.
Oh, well done, you. That's lovely to hear. And especially you don't know me, and it's also the first time you've gone through it and you've got a lot going on. So there's a lot of additional things on top. So I want to just thank you for trusting me to go with it, because that's the number one thing. People won't go into it unless there's a level of trust. So thank you. I also want to just acknowledge that we haven't introduced each other. And that's an oversight on my behalf, just bearing in mind that you're the one person in the group that doesn't know everybody. So can I just maybe, Belinda, just because you were speaking, just get you to introduce yourself, then I'll just get everybody else to do the same thing so you know where everybody's coming from.
No, perfect. So I'm Belinda. I'm an early childhood teacher and director at Eden Creek Ferrymount Preschool in Kyogle, Northern New South Wales. I have actually reached out to Sarah only this week, coming across her website and programs and things like that, just to sort of touch base and see whether this is aligned with me perhaps for next year. And yeah, I've been in early education and care for 25 years and going strong.
Excellent. Beautiful. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
So Rosie, I don't know if you want to jump in because there's a nice connection. I've put you two in contact with each other.
Yeah, hi Belinda. Nice to meet you and welcome. Yes, so I was a director at Mudgee Preschool for over 15 years. Yeah, and now I've done the CLM program for 6 or 7 years now, I think, and have done a lot of work with Sarah, including now on the Dandelion project for educational leaders, the mentoring project. So I'm really enjoying that involvement and connection with the sector. Yeah.
Thank you. Who else wants to jump in and introduce themselves? I'm going to just pick people to speed it up a little bit. Just sorry. Go on, Fiona, you jump in.
Okay. Hi, Belinda. I'm Fiona. I'm the director of an early childhood service in the Sutherland Shire. We're a community-based not-for-profit service, and we are located on the grounds of Sutherland Hospital. I've been directing there for 10 years now, but I've been at the centre for 25 years. So, yeah, it's about it.
Welcome. Colette, do you want to jump in?
Yep. Hi, Belinda and Colette. I come from a teaching, directing, early childhood background, and finished about 2 years ago in terms of that role, and I'm now have a support role at TAFE, still working with early childhood education and care because it's my passion. So yeah, so welcome. I cannot speak highly enough about this program. Like, yeah, do yourself a massive favour if you feel that it aligns with you, because it's just, yeah, you deserve it.
Bless you. Thank you, Colette. And how about you, Julia?
Welcome, Belinda. I'm Julia from Werris Creek Preschool, which is about 40 minutes south of Tamworth. I'm the ECT and the director, and I was in the lovely part of your world on the long weekend at Kyogle for a wedding. So maybe I might have driven past your preschool, perhaps. I'm not sure. Yeah?
We are on Summerland Way on the main road in Kyogle, so yes, you probably did.
I did. Beautiful part of the world.
It
So
is.
welcome. I'm very similar to Rosie. I've been here for a long, long time working with Sarah. And like Colette said, yeah, it's something that nobody else really offers in our sector. And I think you'd find it really beneficial. So welcome.
And Julia's also a Dandelion mentor
I
too.
am.
Just in terms of that, I know you're looking at that program. Okay. Thank you, everybody. And I'm going to switch back to the slides and keep us moving forward. So for anyone who doesn't know my work, sorry, the slides jumped since I did it this morning. These are sort of 4 key areas that I provide services. And one of the things that in the last couple of years I'm starting to feel and believe very much so is that we're creating a movement in early childhood, and it's a very it's a strong movement that is happening quietly in the background, that is starting to infiltrate the sector around conscious leadership and bringing in some of the tools that are now becoming the much talked about topics, as I say, that we've been building into the work that we've been doing. Our first program was, I think, back in 2019, 18. And we're starting to hear some of the language and some of the philosophies and framing in a lot of the PD and a lot of the sector voices that are coming through. So a lot of what we do has been tried and tested for quite a few years, and it doesn't mean to say that we're getting tired or worn out. I think it's very much needed more and more and more. You can see on the slide, I've put up a slide saying the leadership is changing. So despite us running the program over the years that we have, I would say, and I'm sure everybody would agree, that the landscape in which we're looking at now is very different to what it was looking like sort of 5 years ago. And the challenges, although many of the challenges are still very much the same, we've got additional and new challenges that leaders are facing. So before I step into talking about the program itself, I want to just highlight some of these challenges that leaders are facing and how, you know, these really intersect with the program that we're running over the 10 months. So there's without a doubt an increase in complexity and the pace of change. I don't think anyone can argue with that. The pace of change isn't just based in early childhood, it's globally. Change is happening with the inclusion of AI. There's so much happening at such a fast rate. The early childhood itself is navigating ongoing challenges, which I'm sure all of you are more than aware of. So I'm just reminding you of what you already know, which are around workforce shortages, regulatory updates, funding shifts, pressures associated with the National Quality Framework. And we know from the New South Wales and National Workforce Strategy that they're highlighting that leaders are carrying more responsibility, more compliance, and more relational load than ever before, often without additional time or support structures. So this means many leaders are operating in literally a constant state of activation and moving to one task to the next without any space to sometimes think, reflect, or lead intentionally. Another shift is around emotional labour, and this is one that's become more and more prevalent. A couple of years ago, we ran a focus on emotional agility for good reason, and this is still like it's so prevalent. Our sector has always been relational, but the intensity of the emotional support leaders now provide has grown, I think, significantly. We know from research in children's wellbeing and trauma-informed practice that educators today are supporting children with higher levels of emotional, behavioural and social needs. And leaders are holding not just the children, but the team and families and the service culture, conflict and complex conversations and change fatigue. Studies from Harvard, ESOL Lab and ASEQA and the Australian Early Childhood Workforce Strategy all point to increasing emotional complexity, communication demands placed on leaders. And when emotional loads go up, the need for self-regulation, clear communication and leader and presence becomes even more important. Many leaders describe a sense of disconnection, not because they don't care, but because they're absolutely exhausted and really tired. This is what psychologists and well-being researchers call human giver syndrome, when leaders are constantly giving, supporting, nurturing others, often at the expense of their own well-being. So when leaders are exhausted, it doesn't just affect how they feel, it affects the whole service. And I'm not sharing that to add an increased level of burden on you. That is reality. That's now very much backed in research. Because as I say, and I keep repeating, you know, leadership is relational. Your energy, your regulation, your presence sets the tone of everything that happens within your service. So turnover is another big challenge, which I don't have to, you know, highlight, but it's an important one to add to this different landscape. The latest Australian sector's reports show that staff instability makes it harder to build consistent culture, maintain strong team communication, and hold clarity around expectations. Leaders are not just managing teams, they're continuously now rebuilding them. And I think, you know, I'm highlighting Fiona here because Fiona has been on this journey with me for a long time. And when I first started working with Fiona, she's a prime example of her. She had no staff changes. That, you know, that wasn't even part of the conversations we were having back 5 years ago. And in this short period of time, which is not long, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, Fiona, but you're looking at an 80 plus turnover of staff in that period of time. So, and we're hearing that more and more, key staff leading, and then the impact that has on the overall staff team. So it's a whole different way of leading to the way we previously have. All of these require a deeper level of influence from a leadership perspective, clarity and conscious communication that was required in the past, but is needed even more now in the current climate. I think you'll all agree also that the workforce itself is requiring different things from you than it previously did. Educators today expect leaders to communicate with lots more empathy than they used to. They're required to create psychological safety. That term wasn't even being talked about at the level that it is now 5 years ago. You're being required to regulate enormous emotional, your own emotions, because you're not separate from everything that's happening. All of the things that are happening are impacting your own ability to emotionally regulate, and you're required to navigate conflict without fear or blame. All of these are relational skills. And overall, they're not taught skills. They're not taught in universities. They're not taught in the majority of leadership programs that are actually out there. So we know that also the neuroscience, the brain science behind leadership has evolved enormously. And we also know about the brain and the impact change has on our brain, the impact stress, sustained stress has, and how that affects our communication. And then what that does in relation to, if we're not regulated, how that impacts other people's nervous systems, and how they interact and turn up to work and perform. So when leaders slow down, stay grounded, and lead with presence and trust and collaboration, everything improves. Like collaboration improves, communication improves, performance improves, motivation employees improve. And I think this is one of the reasons why we're seeing so much more around why slow leadership is not just about doing less. It's about leading in a very, very different way than we previously have been required to. So what does this all mean for you as leaders? I think it means that the old ways of leading, and many of you are not using a lot of the old ways of leading because you've been on this journey with me, but they're still very inherent in a lot of services, and there are a lot of there's still a lot of weight held on leading in a particular way that I think is quite an outdated model. The old way is about managing tasks, staying busy. Busyness is the credit in the workplace. We've just got to stay busy, because when we're busy, we've obviously got to be productive, which we know that that's actually not true. That if only you just work harder, you'll get the job done. None of these are working in the sector primarily, because what we're needing is leadership coming from primarily a really grounded, regulated space, as well as relational, emotional, and human-led. We cannot lead well in 2026 moving forward, as we know that we've got another year of a lot of change and uncertainty running on empty. Constantly reaching out or leading from survival mode. So the skills that people are needing now in leadership more than ever, which some of these are very close to your heart already, is around self-regulation, deep listening, conscious communication, relational trust building, emotional presence, and the ability to influence through connection and not control. And these are all things, these are exactly what we focus on, and what the Conscious Leaders Mastermind program is designed to support you with. So I'm going to take a deep breath, because that was a lot of information, and I just want to reach out to all of you to because that can feel like a really heavy perspective, and a lot of weight for you to carry. So I'm just really curious about, what are you noticing about the pace of leadership right now, either in yourself or your team and your service? I'd love to hear your perspective. Hi, Radha, welcome in this leadership space.
Sarah, could I jump in? And because when you were talking about the differences between, say, now and 5 years ago, I had a very lengthy conversations with two preschool directors this week who are miles away from me, and who I admire very much. But interestingly, in those conversations, they both were talking about having to manage the emotions of staff and the emotions of families, and that both of them said they're being pulled further and further away from actually being with children
Yeah,
because of those other issues that are demanding their time.
absolutely.
And having to balance that. And that's something that's just crept in and crept. They both said crept in and crept in. Hasn't just gone slam. It's all of a sudden it's here. It's just more and more and more. And the comment was also made about younger people as opposed to probably my generation. Like just saying that they're having a work-life balance. And there's not that, I suppose, that desire or the feeling they have to soldier on.
Yeah.
If they've got a problem in their life, and well, I need to put that aside and go to preschool. It's like I need this day off. So it was interesting what you were saying, because yeah, both of them were saying the same thing this week.
And that has a direct impact on the way you're leading, doesn't it? Totally. Would you
Mm.
agree with that yourself, Julia, in relation to your experience?
Yeah, I would. I would. And when you were talking about Fiona and the change in staffing, we've had on a much more micro level than Fiona's, but I'm experiencing that where people are young, much younger than me, and they don't seem to have what I would describe as the commitment.
So, and there lies a lot of the work that we've done around our belief systems and, checking in with staff around what what their beliefs are, the service philosophy, their why, their purpose. And these are all the things that are very much a foundational part of the CLM, because the world is changing. And unless we start to really get curious about what those differences are, it's very easy to build up resistance and actually say that's right and this is wrong. And I'm not saying that that's what's happening, but it's very easy because that's our brain's built in that way to go, well, this is familiar to me. And so therefore it's right. And with the rapid change that we have in workforce alone, Julia, and you're highlighting that, the skill set for you as directors to actually bring everybody along and continue to maintain a quality service have changed. Those challenges are changing all the time. So I think that there's some really good pickups that you've shared there. So thank you. Love to hear from you, Fiona.
I think for me, and what you were saying is that, potentially with those staffing changes, I think there was 28 staff in 1 year, like that I literally interviewed and either let go or it just wasn't a good fit, which is absolutely like just mind-boggling, exhausting. Rada can probably testify to the induction process that we have with our new staff, and the care and the effort and the attention and the relationship building that we put into that. Not to mention then all of the supportive follow-up phone calls at night time, making sure people are settling in and taking on that feedback. So horrendous there, but also having a mind shift that some of this is outside of my control, and that it's not a reflection on me and me doing my job, but a reflection on the industry. So yeah, that's something that I'm probably still working through. And something else that I'm not sure that you touched on, Sarah, you may have, was around the amount of people or applications that we're getting, and then interviewing people and they have absolutely zero knowledge within our sector.
Yeah.
Like, and this is not a reflection of you, Colette and TAFE, at all. I know that you're fighting the good fight for us, but I just am so concerned about you know, people that have a master's in early childhood, and then you ask them a question in an interview and it is clear that they actually have no idea about early childhood. So that adds an extra layer to us, because there's a piece of paper there and the industry, and people can hire these people, but like, I don't know, I just think that that's like, it's then our job to train, or then we can't employ what people that we're interviewing.
So, and that Fiona is a great point. You've shared some great points there in terms of, it highlights to me two things that we talk a fair bit around in the CLM, which is your point of influence. There's so much happening outside our control, and then making sure we bring it back into our point of control within the service. And, we talk about that in different ways within the program, but also, and I've been a witness to this with you, just the growth mindset that you've had to develop over all of those challenges, that you've everything was going fine, as whatever fine looks like, do you know what I mean? And then COVID hit, and then you'd done all the things to have a very, very strong established staff team. And then you're now literally rebuilding history, you're rebuilding a staff team, and you will probably in reality continue that process, because the workplace continues to evolve and change. And with that, we need as leaders to evolve and change. And that's what I hope the CLM does, is it provides a space where we can be vulnerable and express how challenging that is, whilst also being supported with a group of people that are doing the same thing as you or in similar ways, that can provide some different insights and different perspectives on how they're working with some of those challenges. And I think that's been one of the strengths in this program, that we've got such a diverse range of experience, locations, rural, remote, metropolitan. It's just such a body of insight and human spirit, I'd like to say, where we really feel that we're championing each other and that we're there for each other as well. So some lovely shares there. Thank you. Anyone else want to jump in? I just want to acknowledge Radha has joined us, and Radha's the job share other half of Fiona.
Thanks, Sarah. Sorry I was late. I just couldn't get the link, but Fiona sent it to me.
Oh,
So
brilliant.
yeah.
I'm going to talk more about Radha as we move forward in the nicest possible way, I hasten to add. Anyone else want to jump in? Belinda, I don't know if you want to share anything about, you've had your more than fair share of challenges up in the Far North Coast with flooding and bushfires and you name it.
We have over the years, and it was kind of almost a back-to-back tragic story after tragic story for a period of time there, which, we're kind of settled back into our normal, as the case may be. But I was just thinking about as well what Fiona had mentioned about those people who are leaving university, with the Masters of Education. I did a short stint with Southern Cross University as a liaison person between the prac services and students. And I actually pulled away from that role because of just the lack of quality training and education that those students had, and being questioned by services to they're doing their last practicum and they don't even know what an observation is or how to write an observation. And I'm just like, this isn't quality education going out to these teachers who are being turned around in 12 months to be out in our workforce, and that didn't sit right with me, and I had to pull myself away from that additional income because it just didn't align with my values. So I completely understand that from the other perspective as well, and seeing it firsthand in the regarding to staffing for us here at our preschool. We are, touch wood, quite secure at the moment. We do have one of our very long-term educators retiring this year. So she's been here with us for close to 35 years, and she will be retiring at the end of the year. But otherwise, we're very lucky to say that our team is quite secure, and a lot of us are sort of 7-8 years into our staying here in the same location. So yeah.
Thanks, Belinda. Some beautiful shares. So thank you for those insights. I also, am hearing that the impact that, people share with me around just the change of staff is enormous. But I'm also hearing more and more the impact of children's behaviour it's having on staff that have been there for a long time are actually saying, I'm done. I can't work within this system anymore. Like I'm working in a way that isn't in alignment with my values, and the way I think parenting should be happening isn't happening, or like lots of very broad statements around that. But I think that's another reality where we've got people who are leaving the sector with a lot of experience, who in a different world 5 years ago would probably still quite happily working in their services. So yeah.
Something that I also love about the program, Sarah, and doing this is exactly what you said before, that, for 5, I think it was even 7 years, we didn't have a staffing problem. I didn't have to hire additional people. If I did, there was an abundance of people to choose from. But just listening to other directors and working through other situations that may not be my situation at the time over the years in this group really, I guess, helped me to prepare and to know that when things did happen,
Yeah.
I'm not the first person to go through it. So those connections, I know with Rosie and Colette, sometimes we've had some pretty big discussions, is something that I value so strongly about this group. And it's not something that's built overnight. It's a real trust that you get from your program. So yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you. And it's all about trust at the end of the day, isn't it? As we know. So that's very much I model what I'm hopingly teaching and sharing with you as a group, that you can then go and do within your services and within your relational work that you do, because we know through all the brain science that without trust, that things don't necessarily follow well. And I think, unfortunately, with what's happened in the media of late, will have really eroded trust within the sector and with families. And we're seeing it, like I'm hearing it, in relation to I was talking to an administrator last week who was saying she is just struggling with some of the heightened levels of anxiety in families, as small things happen that then suddenly blow into big things. And a lot of that is a result of what's actually happening outside your service. It's not necessarily anything that's happening within it, but your job around reassuring and trust has just got exponentially bigger because of what's actually happening in the media around the sector more generally, and the world, the world at large. So let me keep moving, because time needs to just slow down a little bit more than it has done. So this is our program, really, and I love that we're still here, and for many people we're growing together, and everything that we do is about relationships within the program, that we're literally, as I said, modeling how we know to be true works with teams and works with the complex relationships we have with staff and families. So with all the shifts, the emotional load and the rapid pace of change, the increased expectations on leaders, I think they're not abstract, they're absolutely lived, and we know because we're seeing lots of people just resigning from their positions. It's just too much. So this is real. And at the same time, that's real. And then at the same time, I'm never, or I should say, I'm constantly blown away by the passion and dedication of the people that I work with, and that they're striving constantly to work through all the issues that you get thrown at you, for the benefit of children and families that you work with. But these are lived experiences, and they're felt in real services with real people in every single day. And you've sort of shared that through some of your shares this morning. And to me, this is where the Conscious Leaders Mastermind program began. I created the very first CLM back in 2019, 7 years ago. And I remember it really, really well. I had a glass of wine in hand in a local pub, with Lindy Farrant, who's the late Lindy Farrant, and I'd just done some professional development with her team. And she said to me, Sarah, this program is needed. And we talked about it, and she outlined what that program, which is the program that I created, looked like. And the same things, I hear the same things now, some 7 years, which is people still feeling isolated. They don't have space to talk, a safe space to talk about leadership and what it really feels like, and somewhere to reflect and be honest and not feel like they have to hold it all together on their own, because it can be a lonely place being a leader in a not-for-profit service or a long day care service, preschool or long day care, or in TAFE even, Colette. So I think leadership can be a lonely place, wherever we're sitting. And the original program was born out of this need for connection, where it was a place where people could come, they could share their experiences, and they'd feel less alone in navigating that complexity. And even through COVID, we just pivoted and we increased the support, because that's what leaders needed. And that's what I love about this program, is we meet leaders where they're at, and the program gets shaped dependent on what's happening in the environment at that particular year, which brings me nicely to the 2026 program. But before I do, I just want to talk about the pillars that really underpin what we're doing and why we do it. So as we know, the quality of your leadership isn't based on how fast or productive you are. Like, it's just not. It's shaped on how present you can be. And we know this now through all the neuroscience. We know this in relation to the well-being science. And this is the heart of what we call slow leadership, which is very aligned to slow pedagogy. And just as children learn best in environments where adults are attuned, unhurried, and deeply present, teams are also the same. Your presence literally becomes your pedagogy. Let that land for a minute. Like, this is really important. That's why Conscious Leaders Mastermind is anchored in these 3 principles, 3 inner capabilities that shape every interaction you have as a leader. So it's about how you show up, the presence you bring in your energy, in your intentions, in your why, and how you trust not only yourself as a leader, and this is where we have to do some of the inner work, but trusting ourselves, but creating environments that create trust in other people. And the power of you influencing is more important now than it's ever been. Your authority as a leader is such a small part of your leadership, but how you influence the shape of the culture around you, is completely dependent on how you show up as a leader. So these three pillars are deeply connected, as I said, to slow pedagogy, creating spaciousness, honoring relationships, and responding rather than reacting, which is no mean task. Like this is challenging. And I'm very transparent. We all don't do it well sometimes, I don't. And this is why I think we've had such an amazing return rate in this program, is that this is a journey. We get up each day and we start afresh and we have another go, and we're improving and we're growing every day. And some days we don't do so well as others, but generally we have a growth mentality, a growth mindset, which says we're striving to be the best versions of ourselves, and we're working towards presence, trust, and influence as much as we can. And when we don't, we're very self-compassionate with ourselves, we're realistic, and we come back and another day is dawned, and then we start the journey back again. And the self-compassion piece is a really, really important part of our success as leaders, because whatever we're experiencing, our team and families are experiencing the same thing. There is nothing that separates us, because we're all human beings. And we all feel the things that we talk about. We just feel them and experience them in different ways. So this is the program for 2026. It's broken down into 5 different phases. As always, we're starting with the focus around priming ourselves, getting ourselves ready for the year ahead, creating clear direction. And making sure it's aligned to our own service philosophy and our leadership philosophy, and making sure we're clear about what we want to get out of the program. Then phase 2 is about leading yourself. So it's very much focused on you as a leader before we start focusing on other people, where we get you to start thinking about your patterns, how you regulate your emotions, and how you lead from a place, from a centered presence. And some of you might be looking at this and going, well, we've covered some of this within the program. Yes, we have, but we're going to be going into a lot more detail. So much so that on the phase 2, we have our 2-day in-person event, which is in Cronulla, which is really the foundation of the program. And the 2 days will create the foundation, as I said, for the whole program. But we've also added a 3rd day, which is something we've never done before, which is where, segue to the beautiful Radha. Radha is going to be providing a 3rd day where we offer the people within the program, but also educators, to come along and actually do a whole day around looking at and I'm gonna, if Radha wants to jump in at any point, please feel free to. If not, that's fine. It's a day where you get the opportunity to really practice a lot of the things that we talk about in the CLM program. And what I know is that we've found consistently with all conversations around self-regulation, without a doubt, without exception, people love it. They see the value of it. You're doing it with children, so you do know the value of it. But then we don't do it because life gets in the way. And that's something that I've heard more times than I care to remember. And so the day 3 is coming to you from somebody who works in a service, who's got extensive experience as a director, as well as an educator, as well as somebody who's been doing this work herself. Around mindfulness and self-regulation. So Radha comes in with a very different perspective from mine. And this is hopefully this year within the program, we're really looking at how can we embed this within our entire team, not just within our own leadership. Do you want to add anything to that, Radha?
Thanks, Sarah. I'd probably just add that so it'd be very different to Sarah's. It would be all practice. So the whole day we'll go through a bit of the science, but it'll be lots of practical practices for educators, leaders to use for themselves, but they could also use them with the children too. There's a lot out there for children, mindfulness for children, but if educators are not doing it, it's not going to be as effective. And it really, if the educators are doing it, that will filter through to the children anyway, because it starts with us. It's like us as leaders doing Sarah's course. You know, it filters through to the team. So yeah, there'll be breath work, meditations. I've got some other experiences, or different strategies you could use to regulate. And some of them you can use at work, or you do like at home. A bit like a retreat for the day.
Yes. And it's going to be fun and really interactive. And we wanted to open it up for educators as well, because, you know, it reduces your load as well. So if you get some of your educators to come in on the third day, then it actually means you can delegate some of that element of self, you know, helping your team become self-regulated. You can actually, you know, they can embed that. It reduces your workload, or you can work in partnership with them as to how you do that. So you may just choose to come to the 2 days, or you may choose to come for the 3. That's entirely up to you. We've separated them out, because if you want team members to come with you, obviously it's a separate offering. And we're happy to answer any more questions around that. But I just wanted to pop that in it's the 2 day plus the additional day.
Maybe I should add too, if you're wondering like where I come, like why me. So I'm a yoga teacher as well. In my yoga teacher training, we did there's a big bit on pranayama, like just breath work. So I've been doing breath work and meditation for for years. But I've also studied meditation and mindfulness-based stress reduction courses, and I started doing all that when I first started working in early childhood due to stress, and it was a way that I was managing my stress. And then when I became a director, I really got into the meditation when I was a teaching director. I mean, I was just first time I was experiencing like sweaty palms and things like that. So I found when I was meditating and practicing, I was so much more centered, and it really helped my leadership. So that's where I come from.
We couldn't be any more blessed to have somebody with the not only all those skills, but also know on the ground what it feels like, and the practicalities of when you get hijacked and dysregulated and all of those things in motion, which obviously I can't talk to. It's not my area of expertise. And so I'm just feel so happy that we've got Radha on board as with this sort of third element of the face-to-face training. So thanks, Radha. So that's sort of phase 2. Phase 3 is lead conversations, which is all around trust and communication, building deeper trust, navigating difficult conversations. So that's the how do you have using the conversation intelligence skills. Again, we've done a lot around that in relation to over the years, but we'll be digging even deeper. And then the phase 4 is then how we bring all of our learning into the teams from a growth mindset and culture. So we'll be creating reflective, collaborative culture where curiosity and learning are valued. So there will be a mixture of content that we've shared before, but there's going to be new content that we will build on. And obviously we'll have new participants, so they build in new challenges and new issues that we'll be addressing, as well as obviously where we're up to in July and September next year. We might be in quite a different place to the place we're at now, so we'll be adapting and changing to that. And then last but not least is phase 3, which is around lead for change, which is all around integration and impact. So making sure that we're embedding the new ways of being and empowering others to shape lasting change around your shared purpose within your service. So yeah, that's the overall structure. Has anyone got any questions? I'm very aware we're running out of time, but we've got a few more slides. Has anyone got any practical questions that you have? Hi, Belinda.
I was just curious for newcomers like myself.
Yeah.
You just talked about some of the things that you have done in the past groups, sort of filtering through. Are there resources to share from some of those past masterclasses that might be able to be shared for newcomers to kind of
Yeah,
catch up?
what we'd be doing, the great thing about learning alongside people who've been on this journey for a while, we always go back to the basics, we repeat the basics because often we forget them or we just ignore them because we're like, it's like, oh, that's so obvious. A lot of what we do is really obvious, it's just reminders. But the benefit is you get to up level with other people, so they'll be asking questions from a different perspective from you. So I mean, I'm just trying to think. Rada, you were probably the later person that joined. Maybe you could speak to this in terms of the benefits of actually working alongside other people who've been on this journey with you, and maybe some of the pitfalls if you felt them.
Well, I never felt like I was behind because, like Sarah said, there's modules in there, like because you provide the modules on topics.
Yeah.
Is that from the Conscious Leaders program?
Yeah, from the online conscious leadership program.
And then you learn through the discussions everybody has, and you asking questions, and it's just such a welcoming group too. That I don't think you'd feel behind by any means. Yeah.
It's important as well, Belinda, like the way I work is it's like I try and mirror, like I'm a director, and if you're a new member in the team, how you're bringing somebody in, like it's all about trust building strategies. And I'm not saying I do it perfectly all the time, but we're a safe enough group where people feel safe enough to say, Sarah, you've missed this bit, or what about that? Or it's very collaborative the way we work. So I can understand why you're asking that question, especially because we've had people in the program for so long. But I think it also can be a huge benefit as well because they can have a separate phone call with you where they're sharing something from their perspective, where they've been doing the work for a long period of time that you wouldn't have if we were all on the same playing field, if that makes sense. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's understandable. No, thank you for
Great question.
that. Yeah, thank you.
Anyone else? Okay. So that's just for you, Belinda, really, and anyone who's watching the recording. This is the venue we have. We're on the beach, which probably might not be that enticing for you as you're already in the far north coast, but it's a beautiful location. It's like walking distance from the hotel we stay. There's a lovely venue that we go out to for a meal in the evening. It's a really nice location. It's a bit of a special place, I think everyone would agree. It's nice, isn't it? We used to do it in the IEU building, which was also nice, but it's got a very different energy attached to it. So I've mentioned the third day, and if you go into the website, all of the details in relation to the program are up there now. You can enroll now, or you can book a discovery call if what we're saying so far you're like, I like the sound of this, but I want to talk more about how that's going to look for me in my own situation in my leadership next year, and is this a good option for me? And if you've been part of previous years and you're like, I'm not sure whether I want to sign up again this year, that's fine. But if you want to just book a conversation with me, please feel free to. I'm always happy to help structure your thinking around your professional development for the year. We're going to have the learning platform as we have previous years, where all the recordings, we have modules for each. There'll be a module for each phase of the program with all of the resources. So Belinda, any resources that we've got that we think are useful all go in to a home, which is our online learning community. The exciting bit of news I want to share with you, and I don't know what this is going to look like because this is totally just hot off the press as of last week. I signed up to a developing courses with AI around using AI companions. And I'm going to look at how we can use AI within the program. And I'm not going to share too much about that now because we've run out of time. But what I'm going to say is it's very exciting. It's looking at how we can use AI as a companion in our learning journey. And for any skeptics out there, like, I don't want AI infiltrating my learning experience, can I tell you, you're going to see it everywhere. Like, it's coming, whether we want it to come or not. and I want to get ahead of the curve to actually bring it into your learning. I've already started the course and it's already helping me with the course that I'm doing, and I can really see that it can have a potential to really improve your learning and learning experience in a measured way, I hasten to add. One thing that I'm noticing with the online conscious leadership program, and I'm sure this will happen with any other courses that you or your staff attend, is the discussion threads have gone next level off the, like, I could spend a whole day responding to what people are now putting in courses because they're all using AI. And then the question goes a bit back to what, you know, Belinda and Fiona are saying. You've got to go, well, who's answering that question? Is it you or is it AI? And what's your depth of learning and understanding about that content? So some of what I will be looking at is how we can actually use AI in a really meaningful way, not where it's just, how do I answer this question? People don't have to think about anything. So I may be more excited about that than all of you right now without you understanding what was behind that. But trust me, I will be using it with caution, but also it's another thing you can get a taste of what is coming because it's going to be entering into all of our learning spaces. It won't be coming into the 2 days, I promise you. Any of our face-to-face, it won't be. Any questions about that? I can see some very serious faces, a bit nervous.
That's exciting. I'm excited about that.
Yeah, it is, but I'm with caution. Okay, so we've reached the end of our session about the program for the year ahead. So before we wrap up, I'm just curious, does anybody have any questions? Or Julia?
The dates next year, Sarah, when does the CLM go to Cronulla?
It goes to Cronulla on the, and I wrote it down because I knew I hadn't put it on my slide, I think the 9th and 10th.
Thank you.
And 9th and 10th, Monday and Tuesday, and the third day, Radha's session is on the third day on the Wednesday.
And that's in
9th, 10th,
March,
11th.
Julia.
Yes.
In March.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So with the 11th, sorry, is that for, it's still part of the program, but are you thinking that people from other teams will fly in for the breathwork day? Just,
Or come in.
and
So
that's,
sorry.
so if we're signed up to it, we can just bring our staff in for the day.
No, so you'd sign up for the 2 days.
Yeah.
And then if you wanted to do the third day with a couple of your staff, you'd then sign yourself up and them. So it's not part of the 2 days for you.
Oh, okay, my bad. I didn't understand that. Okay.
We've sort of made it like a separate event, but we've added it on, if that makes sense. And the reason I've done that is because I think it would be good to put an invitation out to say, like, the Sutherland Shire Alliance. So we might get educators who are coming in from those services haven't got a director as part of the CLM program.
Mm-hmm.
I'm hoping some people will fly some people in, but I think that's we don't know whether people will do that. That makes sense.
Okay, that is making more sense.
Good question, Fiona, because I had the same understanding as you.
Yeah. I think it sounds like that it's included in your 3 days, and then if you wanted to bring other people in.
Yeah,
So
no, it's not included, but you'll see in the registration form on the website, it's really clear because you're registering for the CLM and then you're registering for I'm just going to call it Radha's event, which you probably shouldn't call it regulation. Yeah. So it's separate. Yeah.
It says bonus event and it's quite separate. And then, book that.
Thank you. Thanks, Julia.
Any other questions? The only thing I haven't shared is that the registration closing date is the 28th of November. So we're pushing to get people signed up well before the end of the year, because we know from previous experience, once we hit December, people are not looking at professional development and they don't really want to talk about professional development. And then if I leave it to the new year, by the time you're coming back, you're too busy to have a look at this. So this is why we set the date so early in the year before the new program. Any other questions? All good. Well, thank you so much for your time today. It's been lovely connecting with you, and I'm really excited to see what we create next year. As I said, if you've got any questions, please feel free, just book a discovery call. If you go into my website, you'll see there's a whole section with discovery call, which is a 30-minute free complimentary conversation just to help you decide what's right for you. And I look forward to connecting with those of you that I will at the end of the month with our last program for the year, live event. I don't think I've mentioned, just an add-on, that we meet monthly. I didn't mention that, did I? Sorry, Belinda. So we meet for 2 days, and then every month we meet for 90 minutes, which is like a community of practice concept where everybody comes in. I do live coaching sessions and we mix them with some learning, some additional learning on top.
Thanks, Sarah.
Thanks, everyone.
Lovely to meet you, Belinda.
Thank you, everybody. Lovely to
Take
meet you
care,
all.
everyone.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.